Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever felt the urge to vanish, not out of fear, but out of clarity? What if the quietest exit you make becomes your loudest act of power? And why does choosing yourself make others so uncomfortable? Sometimes, the most powerful decision you can make is to simply disappear. Not as a grand gesture, not to create drama, but as a calm, intentional move to reclaim your peace and protect your space. We often find ourselves justifying our presence in places that no longer nourish us. Try to explain ourselves to people who never truly hear us, and staying in conversations that exhaust us far more than they uplift us. But what if we just stopped? What if we chose silence over explanation, peace over apology, and distance instead of one more plea to be understood? There's a reason why silence unsettles people. It strips away distractions and leaves them face to face with their own thoughts. That silence? It creates space for reflection, for clarity, for truth to rise to the surface. And truth has a way of shaking things, especially for those who benefited from your energy but never truly valued your presence. The moment you remove yourself, you change the dynamic. You reclaim the balance. Ghosting, in this sense, isn't about cutting people off. It's about placing yourself first in a world that constantly demands your attention, your time, your emotional labor. Think back for a moment. How many times have you stayed in conversations long after they expired? The friend who only shows up when they need something. The job that drains your spirit but never recognizes your worth. The family member who wraps guilt in the name of love. The group chats that leave you feeling more alone than included. We often convince ourselves that we owe people explanations, that we have to make a graceful exit, put their feelings above our own, and leave with politeness wrapped in carefully chosen words. But let's be honest for a second. How many of those people have ever paused to truly consider how you feel? You don't always owe a response. You don't have to deliver closure wrapped in emotional effort. You don't have to write the perfect goodbye or craft a message just to make the exit easier for someone who never tried to make it easier for you. Sometimes the most honest thing you can do is say nothing and simply leave. Because if someone genuinely cared, they would have noticed the distance forming long before you walked away. They would have paid attention to your silence. They would have valued your presence enough to not let things get to the point where leaving was your only option. Walking away isn't weakness. It's strength. It's the kind of strength that whispers, "I choose me," even when the world has taught you to choose everyone else first. And that choice, it catches people off guard. Society teaches us to always be available, to reply instantly, to remain present even when it drains every ounce of our energy. But you're not here to be consumed. You're not a rescue line for people who only show up when they're sinking. You're not an emotional punching bag for someone who refuses to heal. The truth is, those who genuinely care will honor your boundaries, even if they don't fully understand them. They won't push back. They won't require explanations or expect justifications. They'll respect your need for space. But the ones who lash out, the ones who guilt you, call you selfish, or make you feel wrong for putting yourself first, those are the people you were meant to walk away from. Because their reaction reveals everything you ever needed to know. You don't have to keep fighting for a seat at a table that was never built with you in mind. You don't have to keep raising your voice in rooms where no one ever truly wanted to hear it. The moment you choose to disappear, to ghost, is the moment you stop hoping others will finally value you. Instead, you begin to value yourself. That's where everything starts to shift. Because when you finally walk away from the noise, the unspoken expectations, and the endless emotional drain, that's when peace finds you. That's when your own voice becomes clear again, free from the static of other people's opinions. That's when you realize ghosting isn't about escaping. It's about choosing something better, something healthier, something yours. But how often do we act like our energy is infinite, like we can give and give without cost? We spend hours, days, even years giving our time to people who treat it like it's worthless. We pour ourselves into relationships that never return a single drop. We stay in arguments that drain us dry. We pick up phone calls we dread. We attend events we don't want to be at. We keep showing up in spaces that only take from us. And then we wonder why we feel so tired, so hollow, so disconnected from ourselves. The truth is, we're running on empty. Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, we're going broke by investing in things that have no return. Have you ever noticed how some people leave you feeling lighter, more alive, as if something inside you's been recharged? And then there are others. Just seeing their name light up your phone brings instant tension to your shoulders. You already know they're going to drain you. Maybe it's the constant negativity. Maybe it's the never-ending drama. Or maybe it's the way they expect you to always be available, to always listen, to always fix a mess they keep creating. Whatever it is, whether it's a person, a pattern, or a place, you walk away feeling drained. That's because they've been making withdrawals from your energy account without ever making a single deposit in return. And it's not just about people. It's the habits we cling to, the environments we stay in, the routines we repeat without ever asking ourselves, is this really worth my energy? Take a closer look. Social media is one of the biggest leaks. You scroll endlessly through a feed filled with other people's lives, their opinions, their problems, their filtered highlights. None of it adds value to your own, yet somehow it keeps pulling you in. And then there's workplace drama. Sitting in on gossip sessions, complaining about things you can't control, participating in conversations that drain your spirit, staying in a job that leaves you empty, but convincing yourself it's necessary. Even your own mind can work against you. Overthinking, replaying conversations over and over, worrying about things completely outside your control. Every one of those thoughts is costing you energy that could be used to build something better. If energy is currency, then ghosting is your financial freedom. It's the bold move of saying, I'm done making bad investments. It's that powerful shift where you realize you don't have to pick up every call. You don't need to answer every message. You're under no obligation to engage in arguments that only lead to more frustration. Sometimes, silence isn't avoidance, it's wisdom. It's strength. It's self-preservation. And yes, people might call you selfish for choosing to protect your energy. Let them talk. They'll say you're cold, you're distant, that you've changed. Good. That means it's working. It means you're no longer on call for chaos. You're no longer a reservoir for other people's problems. Because the truth is, when you finally begin to value your energy, the ones who are benefiting from your lack of boundaries will always be the first to get upset. But here's what matters. They are not your responsibility. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone should be able to reach you whenever it's convenient for them. Just because someone wants your time, your energy, or your attention doesn't mean they're entitled to it. You have to begin treating your energy like the precious, limited resource that it is. Because if you don't, others will treat it like it's free. They'll use it up without hesitation, and then move on to the next person who's willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of keeping the peace. And by the time you notice what's happened, you're already worn down. You're drained, bitter, maybe even questioning how your days slipped through your fingers. You'll find yourself exhausted, resentful, and wondering how you got so far off track. So start protecting your energy as fiercely as you would your health, because in many ways, your life does depend on it. Be intentional with your time. Be deliberate about where you place your attention, who you allow into your space, and which conversations deserve your presence. And if that means ghosting a few people, distancing yourself from unhealthy habits, or removing yourself from draining environments, so be it. That's not selfish. That's self-preservation. People often expect words. They want explanations. They want closure. Some kind of validation that they were important enough to deserve a final conversation, a parting statement, a carefully worded goodbye. But here's the truth. Not everything needs to be spoken. Not every ending needs to be formalized. Some exits are quiet, and that's perfectly okay. Some doors close without warning. And that, too, is part of healing. Once you realize that you don't owe anyone a breakdown of your decision to walk away, you begin to feel free. Free from the weight of over-explaining. Free from the pressure to justify your boundaries. We've been conditioned to believe that choosing ourselves comes with a debt of clarity, of politeness, of closure. But ask yourself this. When has explaining yourself ever changed the heart of someone who didn't truly value you to begin with? When has a long, emotional talk with someone who dismissed your worth ever led to a transformation in how they treated you? It rarely does. Because people hear what they want to hear. They filter your truth through their own lens, their own ego, their own pride, their own need to be right. More often than not, they don't actually want to understand. Your decision to walk away disrupts their comfort, and that's what truly unsettles them. It's not your absence that bothers them. It's the fact that you had the strength to leave without warning, without explanation. That's the real sting. And that's why silence is so powerful. It strips away all the noise and leaves them alone with the consequences of their actions. It forces them to sit in the discomfort they created. It pushes them to reflect, to question, to wonder. And deep down, whether they ever say it out loud or not, they know exactly why you disappeared. They remember the disrespect, the neglect, the selfishness, the way they continually took more than they gave, assuming you'd always be there. They just never expected you to do anything about it. That's the part they can't handle. Not your silence, but your choice to finally stop participating. Ghosting isn't about avoiding conflict. It's not about being passive. It's about recognizing when a battle isn't worth fighting anymore. It's about refusing to waste another breath on a conversation that won't change anything. It's clarity. It's closure on your terms. You don't owe people closure when they never respected the connection in the first place. You don't owe them a heartfelt explanation when they never cared enough to check in while you were still there, still giving, still trying, still hoping. And let's talk about that word, closure. People treat it like it's sacred, like it's some final chapter you have to co-write with the person who hurt you. But closure? It's a myth. You don't need someone else's permission to move forward. You don't need their validation to start healing. And you definitely don't need them to suddenly recognize your pain in order for you to release it. Because here's the truth. If someone couldn't respect you while they had full access to you, they're not going to start respecting you just because you're walking away, waiting for that moment, waiting for their acknowledgement, their understanding. That's the trap. And the longer you wait, the longer you delay your own healing. Waiting for them to finally get it, for them to suddenly care, to take responsibility, to change. That's exactly how you stay stuck. Walking away without offering a long explanation isn't heartless. It's not cruel. It's clarity. It's knowing that your energy is too valuable to waste on people who never listened in the first place. Sometimes, silence speaks louder than any well-crafted message ever could. Because when you stop explaining, stop arguing, stop pleading to be understood, there's nothing left for them to respond to except your absence. And that absence, that's the real consequence. People can ignore your words. They can misinterpret them, debate them, manipulate them. But they can't ignore what's no longer there. They can't argue with silence. They can't distort something that was never said. And that's exactly why ghosting isn't a sign of weakness. It's a reclaiming of power. So if you've been waiting for the perfect time, the perfect phrasing, the perfect opportunity to explain why you've had enough, stop. You don't owe anyone a speech. You don't need to spell it out. Just walk away. Let your silence speak for itself. Let them figure out the rest. Have you ever noticed just how loud the world has become? The constant flood of notifications, the buzzing of incoming messages, the endless barrage of updates, opinions, arguments, it never stops. It's an overwhelming 24/7 demand for your attention, your energy, your time. And perhaps the most unsettling part, most of it isn't even real. We now live in a world where people are more invested in capturing their lives than actually living them, where meaning is measured in likes, where connection has been reduced to quick replies, heart emojis, and surface-level reactions. And in all that noise, it's easy to lose yourself. And yet, even in this hyper-connected world, people are lonelier, more anxious, and more overwhelmed than ever before. Why is that? Why we feel so disconnected when we're always online? Because we weren't designed for this level of constant exposure. We weren't built to be accessible 24/7, to carry the emotional weight of every message, every comment, every debate, every global crisis, all at once. Think about it. When was the last time you truly sat in silence? No music, no TV playing in the background, no scrolling through your phone, no replying to text, just silence. Just you and your own thoughts. It's rare, isn't it? Because somewhere along the way, silence became uncomfortable. Stillness felt like something to avoid. We've been conditioned to fill every moment, every pause, with something, as if being alone with ourselves was something to fear. But here's the thing, that very discomfort we keep avoiding, that's where clarity begins. That's the doorway to peace. The moment you step back from the digital noise, the emotional noise, the endless stimulation, you start to hear yourself again. You start to realize how much of your energy was spent reacting instead of truly living. You begin to notice how your day was filled with things that didn't really matter, distractions disguised as obligations. And slowly something shifts. You begin to feel lighter, calmer, more in control of your own inner world. That's the gift of stepping away. That's why ghosting the digital world isn't an act of rebellion. It's an act of self-preservation. It's not running away. It's reclaiming space. So try it. Try disappearing for a while. Don't announce it. Don't make a dramatic farewell post. Just go quiet. Step back. And then notice who actually checks in. Who really reaches out when a notification stops. Who genuinely notices your absence when you're no longer performing your presence. Notice how much of your anxiety starts to fade when you're no longer plugged into the chaos 24/7. Watch how your mind begins to quiet, how your focus becomes sharper, how the tension in your body starts to ease. Because the truth is, most of what exhausts us isn't even happening in real life. It's happening through screens, through messages, alerts, and endless notifications demanding your attention while offering nothing meaningful in return. People worry about missing out. The fear of being left behind, of not keeping up, is deeply rooted in how we've been conditioned to live. But here's the truth. You're not actually missing anything. Life keeps going whether you check in or not. The arguments continue. The headlines shift. The trends evolve. And when you finally step back, you realize just how little of it actually matters. You start to see it for what it is, noise. Constant noise. And when that noise quiets, life suddenly feels clearer, lighter, more real. You begin to breathe again. So if you're feeling scattered, mentally overloaded, emotionally stretched, try stepping away. Ghost the notifications. Leave the group chats unread. Log off the endless scroll. Let people wonder where you went. Let silence do what words never could. And in that space, that pause, find your way back to yourself. Because the real world, the one that truly matters, it's not behind a screen. It's right here, waiting for you. Always has been. We spend so much of our lives burdened by obligations that were never truly ours. Expectations we never consciously accepted. Relationships we maintain out of guilt rather than joy. Responsibilities that deplete more than they restore. And why? Because somewhere along the way, we were told this is just what life requires. That's showing up, even when it breaks you, is how you prove your worth. That pushing through the heaviness is what makes you good, loyal, responsible. But is it? But what if everything we've been told about loyalty, obligation, and staying isn't the full truth? What if the greatest freedom we could ever experience comes from finally releasing the things we were never meant to carry in the first place? People will tell you that you can't just walk away, that disappearing is selfish, that letting go of traditions, family roles, or long-term friendships is wrong. They'll say you owe it to others, to show up, to stay, to explain yourself. But let's be real. How many of those same people would stay if the roles were reversed? How many of them are truly there for you when you're the one who needs something? How many value you for who you are, not just what you give? We hold on to people out of obligation, even when the connection has faded, even when they've become strangers in everything but name. Even when every conversation feels forced, every interaction feels like a performance we didn't audition for. Still, we pick up the phone. We reply to the texts. We show up to events with a smile, even when our soul is tired. Not because we want to, but because we feel like we have to. And it doesn't stop there. We stay committed to jobs that drain us. We say yes to responsibilities that no longer align with who we are becoming. We keep holding on to expectations that quietly steal our joy. We convince ourselves this is what it means to be a good person, a good friend, a good sibling, a good employee. But ask yourself, what good is it if you're miserable while doing it? What good is it if every day feels like you're betraying yourself just to meet someone else's definition of duty? If the relationships, commitments, or roles you're clinging to are slowly chipping away at who you are, then who's actually benefiting from your sacrifice? Who wins when you stay stuck in a space that no longer reflects your truth? The people who genuinely care about you. They won't punish you for needing space. They'll understand. They'll support your growth. Because when someone values you, they want you to be whole, even if it means watching you step away. The people who truly care about you won't guilt you for choosing yourself. They won't make you feel like you betrayed them just because, for once, you decided to protect your own well-being. They won't paint you as the villain for setting boundaries, for creating space, for needing time away. The ones who do, that get angry, offended, or manipulative, those are the people who are never really for you. They were for what you gave, for what you provided, for the role you played in their life. And the moment you stop playing that role, their true colors start to show. Suddenly, you see the difference between who values you and who only valued what they could extract from you. Some of you are carrying the weight of generational expectations that were never yours to bear. Expectations that should have ended long before they reached your shoulders. Others are stuck in friendships held together not by connection, but by shared history and guilt. You give your time, your energy, your emotional presence to people who wouldn't do the same if the situation were reversed, and you feel it. Deep down, you know it, but you keep showing up. You keep holding on, because letting go has always been painted as selfish. Because disappearing feels wrong. Because you were taught that loyalty means staying, even when it breaks you. But let's make one thing absolutely clear. Loyalty should never cost you your peace. Loyalty isn't supposed to feel like a prison sentence. It shouldn't demand that you shrink, silence, or sacrifice yourself just to keep others comfortable. If staying, whether in a relationship, an environment, or a commitment, feels like it's draining the very life from you, then you have every right to leave. And you don't owe anyone a dramatic exit, an explanation, or their approval to do so. Here's the truth. There will always be people who benefit from your lack of boundaries. People who expect you to keep giving, even when you're running on empty. And the moment you stop, that moment when you finally decide to stop carrying what was never yours to begin with, they'll try to twist the narrative. They'll make you feel like you're the problem. But you're not. You're not being selfish. You're just finally waking up to the truth. Your life belongs to you. Not to their expectations. Not to their demands. Not to the roles you've been conditioned to play. And now it's time to let go. Let go of the guilt that was never yours to carry. Let go of the obligations you never agreed to. Let go of the relationships that only remain because you've been too afraid to walk away. Let go of the idea that you owe anyone an explanation. Why you need space, why you need freedom, why you've outgrown certain versions of yourself. Let go of the pressure to be everything for everyone while slowly becoming nothing to yourself. Because here's the truth. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't owe anyone your constant availability, your endless patience, or your presence in a life that no longer fits who you are becoming. You don't owe anyone the version of you that you've already outgrown. So go ahead, walk away. Not out of bitterness. Not because you don't care, but because, for the first time, you care about yourself enough to choose peace over performance. And that, in itself, is more than enough. There comes a moment when you have to stop waiting for permission. You have to stop looking for approval to live the life that calls to you. You have to stop explaining every decision. Stop justifying every boundary. Stop handing your power to people who were never meant to carry your truth. Because here's the reality. No matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. Someone will question your choices, criticize your direction, doubt your motives. Even when you try to be fair. Even when you're kind, thoughtful, considerate, someone, somewhere will disapprove. There will always be someone who feels entitled to your reasons. Someone who believes you owe them an explanation. But the truth is, you don't. You never did. The people who truly love you, who truly support your growth, they don't need speech. They don't require justification. They understand that your well-being is reason enough. The people who truly care about you don't need proof that you're making the right decision. They don't demand explanations or question your every step. They trust that you know what's best for your own life. But the ones who insist on justification, the ones who challenge your boundaries, who try to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself, who act as if their comfort should matter more than your peace, those are the ones you need to walk away from. There's a deep, unshakable peace that comes with realizing this. You don't have to respond. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. And when you fully embrace that, you enter a level of freedom that most people will never reach. That's what ghosting is truly about. It's not about being cold. It's not about avoiding conflict just for the sake of it. It's about recognizing when a conversation no longer serves you. When a battle is already lost before it begins. When an explanation will only fall on ears that were never open to hearing you in the first place. Why waste energy trying to convince someone who's already decided not to see you clearly? Think about all the time and effort you've poured into trying to make others understand you. Why you've changed, why you need space, why you can no longer keep playing the same role they've grown comfortable with. And ask yourself honestly, has it ever worked? Have the people who once disrespected your boundaries suddenly honored them after a heartfelt explanation? Have those who overlooked you finally seen your value just because you spelled it out? Or did they nod, say what you wanted to hear, and then go right back to their old patterns, expecting you to keep showing up, keep giving, keep explaining? That's why silence holds so much power. Because it refuses to play the game. It removes the audience. It stops feeding the cycle. That's why ghosting can be so necessary. Because the moment you stop explaining, stop defending, stop justifying every decision, you take the power back. You strip away their ability to manipulate the situation, to twist your words into something they were never meant to be, to guilt you into staying in places your heart has already left. When you walk away in silence, without a dramatic goodbye or final monologue, you leave them with nothing but their own reflection. And that, more than anything, is what most people can't handle. Reflection is uncomfortable. It's easier to blame you than face themselves. That's why they'll call you selfish. That's why they'll say you're cold, that you don't care, that you abandon them. But take a moment and ask yourself, when has their version of selfish ever worked in your favor? When was the last time putting yourself last made them treat you better? When has choosing your peace ever been celebrated by the ones who only stayed because of what they could take from you? Of course, they're upset. Of course, they'll try to flip the story. But that's not your burden to carry anymore. Their emotions, their unmet expectations, their frustration, those belong to them, not to you. You're not responsible for soothing someone who never considered your needs to begin with. Some people only recognize your worth once your presence is no longer a given. Some only appreciate your effort when it's no longer offered freely. And some will never change, no matter how much you give, how clearly you explain, or how long you stay. That's why you have to walk away, quietly, intentionally, because life is far too short to keep explaining your boundaries to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. It's too short to keep proving your value to those who refused to see it all along. It's too short to justify your healing to those who benefit from your pain. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. You don't owe them a breakdown of your boundaries or a rationale for reclaiming your own well-being. You certainly don't owe anyone a version of yourself that keeps them comfortable but leaves you empty. And if this message speaks to something deep inside you, then take it as a sign. It's time to honor your energy. Time to choose yourself without guilt. Wishing you strength, peace, and clarity on your journey. Take care, stay true to yourself, and don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more content like this.